Hey everybody, my name is Ramon Rodriguez. This is VCV Rack. We're going to go over a couple of basic modules so we can start getting into synthesis and sound design. So what I've got here is a VCO, or a voltage control oscillator, an LFO, or low frequency oscillator, a scope, and then this is just our audio out. You can see it's going into my headphones so we can hear what's going on. Now let's just break down these modules real quick. So VCO, voltage control oscillator, is your main source of sound, or one of your main sources of sound. You can manipulate other things to do cool stuff, but this is the main one. Frequency here, right? Low frequencies, high frequencies, pulse width, which we'll get into later. You have a frequency modulation input, voltage octave input, a sync input, and a pulse width modulation input. We'll get into more of those later, but for right now, let's just talk about these four down here. So these are your main sounds, your sine wave, triangle, sawtooth, and square wave. Let me drop this down real quick. And so we're going to take a listen and also see what they look like. Now right here, let me zoom into the time real quick. This is our sine wave. We can see, right, pretty even little parabola looking shape. This is what it sounds like. Really even, real soft kind of sound. Then we have our triangle waves, which look like triangles. Our sawtooth wave, a little more edgy. And then we have our square wave, right? And we can change our pitch using the frequency, getting into some real low sounds. All the way up to some real high sounds. Now, from there, we got to do a couple of things to make stuff interesting, right? Modular synthesis is all about having things be modular so they can be used in a lot of different ways, in a lot of really cool ways, right? So the way we start doing that is by messing with some of the knobs and plugging some things in, right? So let's take a square wave. Now, I talked about this pulse width button briefly. This pulse width only applies to square waves, and it changes the width of the pulse, right? So we'll take a look and a listen to see what that is. So right here we have a regular width, but if we change this to the right, we notice that it starts to change. The tone starts to change. Same with the other way around. And then what we can do is we can take our low frequency oscillator, which does the same thing. It just brings it into a much lower frequency, right? So we can't even hear this really. You can speed these up to make an oscillator, but for the most part, we're dealing with low frequency changes over time. And what happens is if we take our square wave and we start to modulate that square wave, and let's take our square wave from here. And we plug it into our pulse width modulation. We're going to see some things, hear some cool stuff. Let's make this faster. So now we can see and hear that this is having an effect on our VCO, or voltage control oscillator. We speed this up, and let's drop this down. We've got some kind of cool bass things going on, right? So a brief intro to VCV Rack. There's a lot of cool things. There's a lot that you can get into. It takes a lot of time. So mess around, play with some knobs, plug some things in, and see what happens.